Hi, this is part 2 in my series about our homeschool curriculum choices for 2020-2021. Forgive the voice. Just got up a little bit ago and figured this was the right time to film since my kids are not going to come barging in. They did yesterday when I tried to record this. So let's try again, shall we? This time I have the coffee, so that's nice. Alright, I'm going to start with my kindergartner. I have a kindergartner who turned 5 in February. For her spine, what she does on her own, or on her own with mom in this case, we're starting with Abeka's K5 number skills and letters and sounds. I have the books that go with this, and that will be her phonics and her math. For her handwriting, she'll be using Writing for Learning, handwriting for kindergartners. It's writing letters and words. Yeah, there's the kindergarten. Didn't know if they actually graded it. I don't actually remember where I got them, but I like them. I have Geography from Evan Moore, the kindergarten workbook. And then 2 subjects that she will be doing with my first grader. I have Wordly Wise, K. We're about halfway through this book, and I figure I'm going to go ahead and finish this with both of them. So she has her own workbook for that. And then I'll be pulling some projects out of this STEM book, this pre-K STEM book, just as something fun to explore science. I don't do science in a traditional form with my kindergarten first or second graders. You will see when I get to my 3rd grade stuff that she is beginning a science course, and honestly it's trying to figure out what works well for us before we get to 5th grade. 5th grade is when I intend on starting science in earnest as we enter into the middle grade years. So that is that. For my first grader, he will also be using Abeka for math, and he will be using Abeka for letters and sounds. He figured out how to read on his own by listening to other people read and reading along with them. So I know that he can read at about a 2nd grade reading level right now, but he's missing the rules that go with it. So we're using the Abeka letters and sounds for that. We are not using a language book, as his fine motor skills are not on par to be able to utilize that workbook well yet. It also felt a little bit busy work when I did it with my current 3rd grader. For handwriting, he is also using Writing for Learning. This is the 1st grade book. And he also has a geography workbook from Evan Moore. My 3rd grader is also using arithmetic from Abeka. For science, she is using from Master Books, God's Design, Heaven and Earth. And we may split this and do it in 2 years. As I said, this is her first year doing a traditional science, and we want to figure out how it works best for us. When I look at curriculum, I don't always use it the way that it was intended to use. I'm more of a relaxed homeschooler. If you want to hear more about how I feel about homeschooling and what we're doing all together as a group, you can watch my previous video. But I'm a relaxed homeschooler where I will take the curriculum that I know is a good foundation and use what we want from it. So that will either be a 3rd grade or a 3rd and 4th grade subject. Heaven and Earth, God's Design from Master Books. For her language, she is using Language Lessons for Today, 3rd grade from My Father's World. We switched off of Abeka after she finished the 1st grade phonics to get away from the workbook style now that she had a good foundation of phonics and move into a gentler approach to language that I found at My Father's World. For handwriting, she also has Writing for Learning series. She's Introduction to Cursive. And for spelling, if my book ever gets here, she'll be doing Spelling Power. Just as something fun to go along with her language, she has Mad Libs Jr. to help us start talking about nouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs. And she also has a Geography from Evan Moore workbook. Her last course is the Our Star-Spangled Story from Knotgrass History. To go along with the core books, I have the student workbook, Rhythms and Rhymes, the timeline, and the answer key and literature guide. Now this is another one of those subjects where we may split this between 2 years, partly because this is her first traditional history course. We've done a lot of cultural exploration in the years before this, but also partly because I have a lot of extra books sitting here. So first let me go through the books that are in the literature that Our Star-Spangled Story suggests. We have Freedom Crossing, Tulliver's Secret, Farmer Boy, Katie, Benjamin West and his cat, is it Gremolican? I don't know. I don't have to read this one aloud. Or I do have to read this one aloud. I've got to figure it out. Emily's Runaway Imagination. And then 2 titles that we have previously read as a family, Mountain Born and The Year of Miss Agnes. Those are the literature choices that Knotgrass History suggested. Because I'm using the language from My Father's World, what my 3rd grader was lacking was readers. So I went to Bookshark's website, and I found their first year 1 of American history, and chose the readers from that list. And that's why I say our history may end up taking 2 years. I've got these readers. I also added 2 more read-alouds from the Bookshark list, Pedro's Journal, and The Sign of the Beaver. And with our read-alouds, which some of those will be just with my 3rd grader and some of those will be with the family as a whole. And then this big stack that I'm going to show you of readers, I might slow it down just so that she can fully enjoy the readers along with the good spine that Our Star-Spangled Story is. We have used Sunlight, which I believe is under the same parent company as Bookshark, before, and what I found was she was having a hard time with the linear part of history, trying to figure out where things fit, the things that we were reading in all the different books. So I was really excited to find Knotgrass and to read through it and just be so thrilled with how it's written to the kid so that it makes sense and it does give that nice, good, complete picture. But I was missing the wonderful books that Bookshark or Sunlight have your child read on their own to sort of put history in their hands. So I'm trying to fuse them together a little bit. And so the readers that I have picked for my 3rd grader, I have The Matchlock Gun, The Bears on Hemlock Mountain, Pocahontas and the Strangers, A Lion to Guard Us, Robert Fulton, Boy Craftsman. This is another one I'm not sure how to say. Omcasto, Squanto, Friend of Pilgrims, The Cabin Faced West, Sarah Plain and Tall, Meet George Washington and Meet Thomas Jefferson, The Courage of Sarah Noble, Lumber Camp Library. And then from an old box of books that I got from somebody who had done Sunlight years ago. So these books, I believe, are no longer on the Bookshark or Sunlight list. I have Betsy Ross, Designer of Our Flag, The Secret School, Sacagawea, Guide to Lewis and Clark, and A Letter to Mrs. Roosevelt. I also pulled out this, and I don't know if I'm going to introduce it or not, but this was in my own personal collection. This is the first book in the Bonnets and Bugles series, Drummer Boy at Bull Run. This was a series I loved as a kid, and I know my mom always felt a little bit better about us reading fiction books when it was based in history. So whether or not we use this year, or if we pull it out the next time that we go through U.S. history, I have this book as well. That would be a read aloud if we do use it this year. From that same box of wonderful Sunlight material that someone else had used, they had some books that I have just so that we can peruse them at our leisure. We have What Happened Then, Paul Revere, If You Were There When They Signed the Constitution, If You Lived at the Time of the Civil War, and Three Young Pilgrims. Those are my choices for my kindergartner, first grade, and third grader. One more note again about all these read-alouds. Those, as I said, some will be with the whole family during our read-aloud time, and some will be just with my third grader, depending on the content and the style of writing, whether it will hold my kindergartner and first grade's attention or not. That's what I have. It feels like a lot, but as I said, I'm not a lazy homeschooler, but I am a relaxed homeschooler. So we'll take what we want and leave what we don't. And I'm excited to start in August. I hope to get out to you a video about what we're reading for the summer. But for now, these are our curriculum picks for the 2020-2021 school year.